Begins in 1944. During World War II, a squad of paratroopers is on a mission to destroy a radio jamming tower set up by Germans in an old church. As the plane nears the target location, Boyce, a timid soldier, quietly calms himself down before their descent. Some squad members include Tibbett, Rosenfeld, Grunauer, Chase, a photographer, and Ford, an explosives expert assigned on this mission after an exemplary performance in his last mission. The ride becomes shaky, causing Boyce to drop his chain. Tibbett grabs it quickly and bullies him for having a lucky charm. Boyce's performance in the army is unsatisfactory, making the other soldiers in his batch bully him. Moments later, Sergeant Renson, the squad leader, enters the main area of the aircraft to set some reminders before they land. He starts asking questions, and when he reaches Boyce, he fails to respond. Boyce's already low confidence has decreased even more, but the mission must continue. Sergeant Renson gives his final speech to the soldiers before returning to the cockpit. Hundreds of aircraft and ships go to France, and fighters can only wait and pray. The rumbling airplane signals nearby airstrikes. As they approach, additional explosions occur, but the aircraft avoids them. Other planes crash as the blasts worsen. The remainder of the troops panic, but the sergeant attempts to calm them down. Bullets from below kill squad members. The plane's red signal light signifies troops are ready to leap. Some troops tumble backward and burn as the aircraft catches fire. After the indicator becomes green, several survivors leap out of the plane. Boyce strives to stay composed. The situation overwhelms him. The sergeant throws him into hundreds of gunshots. Boyce looks down on the battlefield and realizes this is it. They've been practicing for this. He falls near water and nearly drowns because he can't release his parachute. He jumps out of the water, grabs a weapon, and runs towards the woods. Boyce finds the sergeant surrounded and tormented by Germans. Ford stops Boyce from attacking and saving the sergeant. Both soldiers watch their leader's death, and Ford explains the assignment. They proceed into the woods, where they hear humans. Survivors show themselves and celebrate their reunion. Many keep advancing, expecting to locate more Americans. One of them trips a landmine, which explodes and injures them. Boyce awakens and goes to safety. Their first goal is survival, but their task isn't over. The group stops to rest and discovers an unidentified dead animal. Its bone structure differs from a dog's. Chase suggests it's a jackal, a biblical hell dog. Tibbett doesn't believe in myths. A faraway noise attracts Boyce's attention, so he alerts the group. They hear Chloe's footsteps. She flees the Americans, but they capture her and compel her to bring them to an ancient church. Boyce says she won't be wounded, but she must aid the Americans. Ford instructs Boyce to watch Chloe while he and the others check out the church in the village. Mrs. Lesnar reports Chloe to the German guards for being out beyond curfew. Boyce hides as the guards investigate Chloe, who talks her way out. She lets the group use her house while on a mission. In case they need to hide, soldiers are shown a house. Tibbett hears a disturbance upstairs, so he asks Chloe. Her sick aunt lives with her, so she changes the subject. After German forces slaughtered their parents, she also cares for her brother Paul. The soldier hid in the attic to collect weapons and strategy. German soldiers execute a villager for unexplained reasons, causing the woman's cry to disrupt their discussion. Chloe says murders are common in their community after the German occupation. She cautions the group that she has regular inspections, but Ford insists they just need 4 hours. Boyce surprises the group by initiating a mission delay. The sergeant warns them that the aircraft can't assist the bases without the tower. Tibbett bullies him, telling him he's not battle-ready. Paul begs the enraged Tibbett to play baseball. Chloe tells him all Americans play baseball, but he goes away. Boyce descends following Ford's instruction. On his approach, he hears Chloe's aunt wheezing and sees a deformed lady. She has scorched skin and looks unwell. Chloe says her aunt hasn't talked since returning from the Germans' chapel. She feels she was subjected to physical and mental experimentation. That night, Tibbett and Chase depart to check on the German base when the German soldiers conduct another inspection in the village. Ford hears it right away, so he and Boyce decide to stay put in the attic, where Paul hides as well. Commander Waffner visits Chloe and tries to seduce her. After she declines, he sends his men to investigate a commotion in the attic. Paul stops the door with a baseball, which a German soldier spits on, and returns to him. Boyce and Ford are relieved as the German troops retreat. Waffner threatens to send Chloe to the church to be repaired if she doesn't make love with him. Without a choice, she lets Waffner use her, disgusted. Boyce interrupts Waffner, who's at gunpoint. Ford helps Boyce downstairs. Waffner is incapacitated and restrained. Ford sends Boyce to the church tower at night. Through the woods, Boyce makes his way to a nearby entrance to wait for the perfect time to enter. He sees a truck full of people with disfigured bodies who are almost on the brink of death. A project that experiments on humans for warfare is orchestrated by Dr. Schmidt, the head of the experimentation on French civilians and dead German soldiers. He goes to the site to see the failed test get burned using a flamethrower. Confused about the intentions behind the experiments, Boyce goes on to conduct the mission and walks through the dark forest. A truck of German troops passes by, so he hides. A snarling dog appears from the darkness and follows him, forcing him into the vehicle. Boyce climbs the truck to discover dead soldiers, so he covers himself with one. 2 soldiers unload at the church. Boyce may then slip through the tower. Every move he makes is vital since one misstep may kill him. He enters a prison-like church basement. 2 inspectors come as he hears muffled sounds from little cells. He looks inside the cage to investigate the weird sound and discovers a human-animal hybrid. Tibbet and Chase reach Chloe's house safely. Boyce investigates the experiment laboratories to learn more about the animals. A corpse bag moves above him, so he opens it and discovers a serum-soaked, barely alive individual. He finds syringes on a table and asks for a sample. He thinks the red serum disfigured the corpses he saw. Boyce hears a voice pleading for help and raises a curtain to reveal a bodiless head. He's horrified because it's hard to believe. He departs and finds Rosenfeld chained to a bed, but German physicians come. He watches a deceased soldier given the serum, but it's unsuccessful, so they dispose of his corpse. Boyce saves Rosenfeld by removing a large needle. Both use a tomb to escape the chapel. Boyce breaks down after pushing back his feelings in the church. Ford tries to grasp Boyce's comments and realizes he's focused on the experiments. He shows Ford the serum, and they question Waffner about it, but he doesn't help, even while Ford tortures him. Waffner is powerless, but his loyalty makes Ford more aggressive. Boyce attempts to stop him but is wounded and leaves the row. Chase checks on Waffner, who tries to escape, and inadvertently kills him as the squad attacks the chapel. He blindly fires with a bag over his head till the group arrives. Before dying, Chase begs for his camera, and they all watch. Boyce thinks injecting Chase will save him. Chase recovers quickly. He pokes his gunshot wounds despite being numb. The shot makes him stronger, which surprises everyone. Chase gradually mutates, disfigures, and becomes aggressive. His eyes grow crimson before Ford shoots him many times. Waffner says the drug may convert dead troops into zombies. Before Chase could strike, Boyce knocked him down and smashed his skull. Waffner escapes unseen during the chaos. He grabs Paul as he leaves the attic. A group of German soldiers comes to his rescue and takes Paul hostage. Chloe helplessly chases the army vehicle but is unable to, so she runs to Boyce for some help. Willing to help Chloe get her brother back, he refuses to follow orders from Ford, saying that their mission is more than just burning the church tower but also putting an end to the human experiments. Ford hesitantly agrees to the plan after being assured by Boyce that he can lead the group inside the church. Waffner and the boy race to the lab from the chapel. Waffner injects himself with the serum against the doctor's warnings. Dr. Schmidt has never injected the serum into a live person and is unsure about Waffner's response. Waffner gets 2 doses of the serum, and his bones fracture uncontrollably. He tells the room he's recovered his strength, despite having half his face blasted off earlier. His menacing expression is painless. Meanwhile, they plan their entrance to the church in a secluded part of the woods. They assign tasks to everyone who will split up during their mission. To initiate it, Chloe shows herself to the German soldiers who chase her across town. They attempt to shoot her, but she successfully runs through the forest, pursued by one soldier to a nearby bridge. The soldier, thinking that he has cornered Chloe, gets off his bike to physically attack and force himself on her. However, upon being beaten down to the ground, Chloe lets out a laugh, and then Ford knocks the soldier down. Next, they use the soldier that they strapped with explosives to make their way into the church. After the explosion injures several other soldiers, Rosenfeld and Tibbet launch a frontal assault as a distraction, while Ford, Boyce, and Chloe enter the base using the sewers. This causes a massive commotion inside the base, as the soldiers are alerted that they are under attack by a small group of Americans. Inside, Boyce and Ford carry out their mission to rig the place, while Chloe refuses to wait and runs to look for Paul. In a hallway, she holds 2 soldiers at gunpoint and shoots one of them after failing to disclose her brother's whereabouts. The group's intentions become more desperate, resulting in them acting more violently toward their enemy. In the communication room, Ford stabs a soldier in the neck from behind a set of timers as part of the plan to blow up the place. The soldier invites Chloe to the dens underneath to mislead her about her brother. She discovers a half-body when he unlocks a cell. Boyce saves Chloe from the German soldier. They leave and observe the undead pull the soldier inside the jail. Time was their adversary, so they rush to locate Paul. They sneak inside the lab, where Paul yells Chloe's name. She and her brother discover the escape. Chloe is brought back by a mutant zombie. Paul flees as Chloe distracts and fights the zombie. After being attacked, she hits it, but the wounds don't slow it down. She's chased by a zombie, but she finds a flamethrower and kills it. Mutated Waffner catches Ford placing explosives on the radio tower. He knocks him down and plots evil. Meanwhile, as Boyce plants explosives in the central part of the lab, Dr. Schmidt holds a gun to his head and orders him to follow his orders. But with all his strength, he attacks the doctor back, and they have a brawl. Dr. Schmidt attempts to knife Boyce, but he is unsuccessful and gets killed instead. Chloe returns to the village, where Tibbet and Rosenfeld had been pursued and pinned down by the base's defenders. The shootout lasts for some time until Paul runs into the middle of the battlegrounds. Out of concern for the young boy's safety, Tibbet is wounded while shielding Paul from gunfire. Finally, he safely brings Paul back to a shielded area, as Chloe ambushes and kills the remaining Germans and treats Tibbet's wounds. Waffner overpowers Ford, throwing him about before impaling him with a meat hook. He tells Ford that the serum is manufactured by distilling the black tar flowing beneath the settlement with the people's remains. The experiments attempt to produce immortal German soldiers. Boyce attacked Waffner after arranging explosives in the lab but is flung across the room. Waffner accesses chambers containing serum-injected fallen soldiers. Ford pulls himself off a meat hook and injects himself with a healing elixir. He stabs Waffner from behind, knowing the consequences. Both fight violently, disfiguring their bodies. Ford can't overpower Waffner, so he rolls an oxygen tank to his feet, which Boyce fires, sending him into the tar pit. Boyce approaches their leader to help him get up, but Ford locks himself inside upon passing by the exit. He orders Boyce to leave him behind and detonate the explosives in the tower, believing neither side should possess the serum. After some convincing, Boyce follows his instructions just before Ford sets off the explosives in the lab, killing himself, the other zombies, and Waffner, who had mutated further and climbed out of the tar pit. Boyce sets a timer on the explosives and escapes into the communications room as the church and jamming tower collapse behind him, burying the laboratory and the rest of the building. The rest of the villagers gather outside as the radio announces the victory of the Allied forces in the war. Boyce reunites with Tibbet, Rosenfeld, Chloe, and Paul in the village and sadly informs them that Ford did not make it. The movie ends after the action gradually wears off. Boyce reports to a commanding officer about the mission. He credits Ford for being the reason for their success. The commanding officer asks Boyce about rumors of an underground lab in the church. Boyce, sharing Ford's view, denies seeing anything worth digging up. He now believes that the zombies and the human experiment should be kept unknown, or else more people will suffer the same fate as failed test subjects. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this and help the channel grow.